Why did you go into nursing? Did you ever get asked that question? I get asked that question a lot. And I actually didn't go into nursing until I was 30. And so I thought in today's video, I would share my story, and hopefully you'll share your story in the comments below about what brought you into nursing, because there's so many career options out there. And I love nursing, but I'm always wanting to know the why. And so share with me down below, was there an inspirational moment? Was there a health crisis in your own life or somebody else's life? Did you have a family member who's just always talked so highly about nursing? What is it that brought you to nursing as your profession? Whether you're a student or you're currently working, I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to share my story in this video today. Welcome back. My name is Tammy and this is NurseMinder, and on this channel we do everything nursing. So if you're new here, consider subscribing below so that you get the next video when it's released. So my journey to nursing is actually quite long. It wasn't anything that was on my radar, and in fact, if you remember doing those, I don't know if they still do them, let me know in the comments below if they do these. It was some sort of career aptitude test when you were in high school that would give you a sense of what careers you would be best suited for. And ironically, nursing I don't think was in the top of them, or maybe it was. I'm gonna have to find it to look at it. Anyways, I definitely know military was not. It was low, and I ended up spending 10 years in the military. So if you're doing those tests and you're surprised by the results, don't let that guide you into making decisions that maybe don't feel good for you, okay? Little side note, I tend to do that. But it wasn't until my late 20s. So I initially went to school to do, I think it was medical secretary right after high school. Wasn't able to stay because they said my parents made too much money. So I don't know how it works for you in your country, but here, if your parents make a certain threshold of income, they just automatically assume that they can afford to send you to school. That wasn't the case. They had 5 kids to support, one income. Wasn't going to happen. So it took me 3 years to then apply again as an adult student where I wasn't reliant upon my parents' income for funding. Long story short, nursing wasn't where I started. It was medical transcription, and I worked in that job for many years before I started to feel an itch to do more, to be more. Like I just felt like there was something bigger out there for me. And I could remember talking with the physicians, and he was a rheumatologist, and we'd always be looking at x-rays and talking about diseases and stuff. And I would often say to him, what should I be when I grow up? Like I felt a calling to do more. And he would say, you should be a doctor. Dr. Yan, if you're listening, I still don't want to be a doctor. You should be a doctor. And I'd be like, oh my God, no. I see how hard you work. I mean, I want to work hard for my money, but I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to be away from my family. I don't want to have the burden of going home at night and worrying about people, which I do. And if you're a nurse, you know that. You know that. We still do. But I was working as a medical transcriptionist. At the same time, I had my own business. So I felt like I was thriving in a lot of areas. So my business was doing the same transcription for other doctors' offices. And I would go gather their supplies or their tapes, take them home. And I'd work till like midnight, 2 in the morning, getting their work done, deliver it the next day, go do my job. So I was quite ambitious, but I was just feeling unfulfilled. Like there was something bigger, right? And while I'm kind of going through this, what do I do with my life? I meet my husband, we get married, we move across the country to another province. So we're Canadian. I went from Alberta to New Brunswick. And I thought I could just replicate my life. I thought it'd be so easy just to pick up and start fresh somewhere. In fact, I thought it would be romantic. Well, it wasn't romantic. It was hard. I couldn't get work. And I was pregnant on top of that. So I was kind of feeling like, who's going to hire this pregnant lady for a few months? What am I going to do? So my first moment where I started to seek some external guidance actually came from a telephone psychic. Yeah, you heard that right. In New Brunswick, they had this lady, I believe her name was Dwayne, and it was on a news channel, I think, Wednesdays at lunch. I feel like that's kind of, she's calling to me right now. Anyways, I would phone in, or I did call in this one day, and all you had to give was your date of birth, time of birth, and ask a question. So here I am in a new province, no family, no friends. a new mom, and I'm not sure if I should go back to work, go back to school, or be a stay-at-home mom. I was really feeling tugged in all of those directions, and that was the guidance I was looking for. And all I remember from her star chart reading was she didn't see me as a stay-at-home mom, which I didn't either. It wasn't for me. And she saw me in a career where I needed to be right. Now, ironically, I'd always wanted to be a math teacher because Mr. Smith from Barhead, Alberta, if you're watching, you inspired me to be a math teacher, because the one I had before that, whose name I can't remember, humiliated me and made me feel horrible and stupid. But Mr. Smith actually made me feel like there was potential and I could grasp these hard concepts. And so that was what I was going to do. I mean, what other profession do you get to be right? And I'm like, yes, okay, I'm going to school to be a math teacher. I told you my journey is long. So I'm already in my 30s at this point. I start university after doing a year of upgrading because I needed to do my chemistry and physics, which I never did in high school because, as I said, that math teacher made me feel stupid. And as a result, I didn't think I was smart enough for chemistry and physics. So I limited myself based on how another person made me feel. Never do that. Take your powers right now. If you're in that situation, stop that. Anyways, I took chemistry, physics, upgraded. It was actually pretty fun. And I went into my first year of science at the University of New Brunswick and realized partway through, there's probably no jobs. Really started to assess what was the likelihood of me getting a job as a teacher in a high school, teaching math, science, that kind of thing. And so I kind of had my second holy crap moment. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I've already invested 2 years into this, a year of upgrading. I'm in my first year of science. And to be honest, I wasn't doing that great in science. It was harder than my upgrading was. And I had a conversation with my friend Colleen one night. We're chatting, and she was a nurse at the time. And I said, what am I going to do? And she goes, I don't know, why don't you try being a nurse? And she started telling me about her work in the emergency room and how she had to help with a patient who was coding one day. And I think her physician on that team was British because he'd asked her to massage the heart. And I remember her saying this to me so clearly. Yeah, he asked me to massage the heart. And I was like, what? And I'm thinking, what? I'm like, yeah, what does that mean? Were you like hands on heart? That got really cool for me. And when she told me it was about CPR, I'm like, oh, okay. We kind of had a chuckle over how I had envisioned she physically had this person's heart in her hand. And I realized that was exciting to me. And I'm like, oh, maybe there's something about nursing I should follow up on this. And so I just applied. I just thought, this is exciting. Maybe it's for me. I've seen nurses on TV. It looks like a pretty good job. I've always been in the medical field, medical transcription, medical secretary, and I've always loved learning about it. So that sounds like a good fit. Let's go for it. Well, in future videos, I'll tell you some of my stories about some of the crazy things I have seen and experienced. But that decision was probably the best decision I'd ever made. And I hope if you're in nursing, again, comment below. Let me know how you found your way to nursing, because for me, this has been probably the best decision of my life. I have been in every field. I feel like I've been in every field. I started with orthopedics. I went to trauma. I was in thoracics. I worked in medicine and surgery. I've worked with pediatrics, adults in emerge ICU, post recovery. I've worked in women's for a short period of time. I've done the military nursing. So I've been over to Haiti and Afghanistan and worked in war zones, and I've worked in humanitarian missions. And there's so much opportunity in nursing that I love it. And now I teach and I have my own business. And so the evolution continues into nursing. And I want to hear your story. And I'd love to hear, maybe you're not where you thought you were going to be initially as a nurse. That happens a lot, right? You go in thinking, I'm going to be a pediatric nurse, and by the time your school's done, you're like, oh, I love this population over here dealing with cancer or palliative care. That's where I really want to be. Share your story with me down below. Like this video, comment on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Because I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about the journey through nursing, as people have been asking me and writing to me to hear a little bit more about how I got in. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care and make it a great day, guys. Hey, I know you're probably not ready to get off your phone or go back to work just yet, or maybe even turn the lights off to go to sleep. So why don't you spend a little bit more time here watching another video?